goals from the start. Every year I do it, and like just being able to reflect, like, okay, you're halfway through the year, and supposedly my goal is to reach like 500 followers on Instagram, and I'm at 320. Like, okay, 500 is not as realistic anymore. I'm still 180 followers away.
You know how I was feeling this morning, guys?
Thirsty?
You just ruined my entire joke, but ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to a brand new episode of Thirsty Tales. And why you should watch this one, that was evident. We have such a smart person here that they can predict my jokes, the legend himself's jokes, right? We have Miss Alekhya over here today. We're not going to talk about this one a lot because we're going to get straight into it. Alekhya, what is this mystical Bangkok Buckets that everyone knows, everyone hears about? Some people know a lot about it because it's so famous. Others know about it, but not too much. So I want to hear it from you. What is Bangkok Buckets? What's your vision for it? And why did you start it?
So what Bangkok Buckets is an online platform I started in 2015 where local basketball players in Thailand can gain exposure and be seen on a global scale. So what that means is I would personally go film and curate 1-minute highlight tapes of these athletes and then post them on these platforms for collegiate coaches to see these athletes play. And why I started it is just because of my own experience as an athlete. Like, I had these dreams of playing collegiate level basketball, and like I understand that it's not as easy coming from a country like Thailand where players aren't seen and we don't have like these channels such as like ESPN, Bleacher Report, and Balls Life Slam, all like a million names to be named, but we don't have these companies locally here. So when I was trying to play collegiate level basketball, I didn't have the opportunity, and I think the biggest part of that is just being seen. And I just thought, if I can't do it for myself to achieve my dreams, then might as well help someone else, which is basically everyone who's in Thailand who really wants to play basketball at the next level, but just can't.
That's very interesting. So this was, of course, purely as a charity sort of thing, or did you take money from them, or what was it?
No, so I always never took money for anyone I filmed. That was like a lot of people would ask me, like, if you go to the US and you ask for a highlight tape, the price of 1 minute, just a 1 minute recording of you playing basketball can range from like $70 to like $150 US.
What?
Which goes up to like 4,000, 5,000 baht. And like, obviously it makes sense because these are people's careers where they're going to a game that would go from like, 48 minutes to an hour-ish. And then it does take time to edit. Like, it's not like you just go home and you're just like editing what you want. It's you're working for someone else. You're producing something to satisfy someone else's. So that's like an important part of it. But yeah, I never took money out of anyone. I purely did it just because I thought like this would help grow the basketball culture in Thailand, and that was like my main vision.
That's awesome. And it did help her grow.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. So you succeeded. That's perfect.
I have another question now. What were your biggest challenges starting Bangkok Buckets in the business, especially in the country, and just in general? Like, how did you overcome the challenges that you faced when you started off Bangkok Buckets?
Yeah, so the biggest challenge I faced was probably just growing my page. I think that a lot of people, like including myself, are under the impression that like I started when I was 15. It must just be like a school activity, or it might just be like a pastime hobby. But I was like super serious about it. Like from the start, I'd already developed my vision for the next few years, such as like selling merchandise and like I'd always envisioned myself doing a league or something of that sort. So yeah, I definitely think that the biggest challenge was just growing my page and getting a following. Also, like, to be mentioned with that was just because I was a young child starting something so big.
How old were you again?
I was 15 when I started it, and I think that like a lot of people don't take you seriously. Like, I think that's the biggest part, and like actually getting a following was super difficult. But I think in 2022, I started the Bangkok Buckets Pro League, which was a 1 month league which consisted of 6 teams, and these 6 teams competed for the grand prize of $1,000 US or 30,000 baht,
Sweet.
which would be donated to the charity of their choice. So once I like actually planned, structured, and like fulfilled organizing a whole league where like it wasn't just kids playing in it, but like professional players, like people who play in professional Thailand basketball in this league, like people started to be like, oh, this isn't a 15-year-old, it isn't a 19-year-old doing something, experience, like someone who's actually becoming like an entrepreneur and actually wanting to fulfill like a goal. So yeah, I think that was how I really overcame it.
That's pretty cool. So in starting this, what were your first action steps? Because I know that to organize something that big, it must have taken a lot of time, a lot of effort, right? So how did you come about it? What were your first action steps?
So for the league in particular, it kind of just came, like the idea came by like really naturally. I was at the park playing basketball with my friends, and we were just like, there's no league that like all of us can play in without like, I don't know, there's always different things that come into it. Like for a league, you have to have a team, and like not everybody wants to play with everybody, and like I just think that with like high school basketball in Bangkok, it's so selected now that like schools are separated. You don't really get the combination feel of it. Like you don't get to play with your friends in a different school and things like that. So that was just like the kind of inspiration behind starting it. I always knew I wanted to do something. And just leaving for university so soon after, I just wanted to get it done before. So there was that, but then the actual action steps were more of like contacting the court, contacting referees, getting the people who were like the scorekeepers. Like I think from experience, I understood that like in a league, what you need to have. You need to have water. You need to have a basketball. You need to have like a lot of things that like people don't really think about. And then my biggest goal for it was to make sure that these players are getting video coverage, photo coverage, like things that they could use to promote themselves. So that was like, I had, I think, 3 or 4 videographers and other photographers at every single game, because I wanted all these players to be like, okay, I played in this league, and if a coach comes to me and asks, I have highlight videos, I have live stream videos, I have full game footage to send to them, and like stats and everything as well.
That's cool, and I mean that must have cost a lot of capital and a lot of finance, right? So where did that come from? Just selling your merch, or did you get, I don't know, investors or something?
No, so I was sponsored by a few companies such as Soho Pizza. And
hey, pizza brand!
Yeah, and that was really beneficial towards what I was trying to accomplish, because their sponsorship paid for a whole team to enter into the league. But every team paid, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember anymore, but I think it was 20,000 baht was the entrance fee for the whole team. And the team minimum amount of players was 10, and then it could go up. So some teams have like 16 players.
Okay.
And and then the age was 17 plus. So every team paid for their own uniforms, and they paid for their entrance fee. And then that whole sum of entrance fee, it was non-profit. I didn't profit off of it. Whatever was spent on like the courts, the refs, cleaning ladies, all that went to that. And then whatever was left was the fee that I gave back to the team.
What was it?
It was 30,000 baht, and that 30,000 baht went towards the charity that won, which is Sati Charity, which helps underprivileged people.
So the guys in making money, they gave that off to charity. So.
Yeah. So before starting, all the players were super like aware that this money that they win would not go towards themselves and would have to go to their charity of their choice. Yeah. So if you look at like footage or anything, you'll see everyone who's like in the league, their charity is normally graded on their shirt. Or something like that, just to play for that purpose.
Absolutely. Even if they don't win, they're still raising awareness for it, right?
Yeah.
Because in the highlights, that's going to be
Exactly.
Was there any specific thing in the league that you found very difficult to do? Was there like a point where it's like, I'm having a problem. I'm having like, this is like a struggle. Like I'm finding this very difficult to do, and I'm in a point where I could either end this all and just give up because it's so difficult. What was that point?
That's a really good question. I think there was several points that I was just like, wow, like what am I doing? Because I think I was doing it myself, which makes it really difficult. Like you have to keep everything intact. Like if, for example, one day a person, like I don't remember if it was a photographer or the referee, but I got a cancellation last minute, and that like changes everything, because then you don't have. If one thing goes down, most things will go down with it. That's just how leagues run. For example, like the scoreboard doesn't work, like that just makes it look really unprofessional, and that wasn't what I wanted to accomplish. So yeah, I definitely had a lot of those moments. I think the first one was just like the finances. I had like miscalculated something in my Excel sheet, and then I was in debt, and it was just like too late to start. I'd like to restart, I'd like to cancel. It's just a lot of like finding a better option. I think with patience and just being like considering everything, like okay, like one day I wanted to do Gatorade for every player, but then I was like, this cost isn't financial. Like I can't afford it if I want to give this to the charity. So like cutting those kind of things out. And then also I think other challenges I faced were, I mean, I was also in the IB exams, balancing IB.
Yeah, I was about to ask.
It was in April, IB was in May.
Wait, it was at the time of the exams?
Yeah, I did it like, so like my first exam was on, I think, May 6th. And the league ended on May 4th or something like that.
Wow, because I was just about to ask you how you managed this like, school and all. Like, were there any time management strategies you used? But then just listening to that it was during the exams?
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Okay, well then, like diving back into that, how did you sort of manage your IB work? Because a lot of people, I don't do the IB, so I'm not gonna say IB so hard. I'm crying till like 2 a.m. or something. But no, it's like you had a lot of IB, just a lot of IB work. Even though you did get into NYU, there was still that I want to end on a high. I want to do good. So how did you balance out the IB, balance out the Bangkok Buckets, and then balance out the social life? Or was there maybe the social life that went away and it was just back up, sorry, the league and IB, or what did you sort of do?
Okay, so I think for me in particular, I'm a person who, like, time management is my biggest strength.
Oh,
like it's something I like pride upon because I was able to sleep at like 9 p.m. every night throughout IB. I also like want to put out there that my IB was easier than other people's IBs because I was during COVID years, so a lot of our papers got cut down. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't as stressed because I felt like well prepared for it because all our mocks and everything was like good preparation. But like with that being said, it was very difficult. I think you have to, like Soham said, really like pick one and like pick your priorities. And for me, it was the league and my school. So yeah, my social life, I didn't go out. I tried to just like get everything done before I hung out with my friends. Nice. And like that's not saying that I didn't hang out with my friends or I didn't have time for my friends. I definitely still did. Like on Saturdays and Sundays, I was still like with my family, with my friends. But I think it's just a matter of keeping your priorities straight and then like making a list, like what do you want to accomplish and when do you want to accomplish this by. Like for Bangkok Buckets, I was like, okay, I want to do a post every day. That doesn't mean that like if I'm halfway through a practice paper, I'm going to stop to make a post. It's just a vision of like what you want to accomplish, and I think if you set that, you're able to do like whatever you want because and like, whatever you desire to do because you have a vision.
What was the main skill that helped you achieve all this? I mean, it could be time management, it could be organization, because I know you're talking about Excel sheets and all that, and you know, that's a big part of organization. Yeah. What was one skill? It could even be communication or something. What was one thing that helped you succeed in that process?
Like in the league in particular, correct?
Sure, the league or just overall, to be honest.
I think definitely the time management aspect, and then also like the goal setting. Like I set goals from the start. Every year I do it, and like just being able to reflect. Like, okay, you're halfway through the year, and supposing my goal is to reach like 500 followers on Instagram, and I'm at 320. Like, okay, 500 is not as realistic anymore. I'm still 180 followers away. Right. Something like that. Like you have to be able to reevaluate, and I think that's super important. And then also possibly just like I've had experience with video editing, and like I had experience with Canva and things like this that a lot of other people probably didn't have. I think like video editing was something that in Thailand not many people knew how to do it, or if they knew how to do it, they weren't doing it. They weren't using it. So I think just like having that advantage that like I had experience, and then also just being a basketball player in Thailand. Like I've met so many amazing people just through basketball, and it's honestly like it's mind blowing how many people you can like connect with on such a deep level just through like one passion. Wow. And like those people helped me so much. Like if I were to name, it would be like the whole video. But yeah, like just like those people, like they all like help me. Like they're like, oh, have you met Alekhya? She's starting a league. Would you like to play in it? Like, would you like to sponsor it? Like everyone just like put their name out for me, and I'm honestly so appreciative of it. Like the fact that I've met so many amazing people. So
I mean, this links really well in of one thing I wanted to ask you. Like with all the people and everything, did you ever feel like you should build up a team to all of this, like Canva and all, or were you just happy doing it on your own?
Yeah. So I think like at first I really wanted to do it myself. I'm not like the best at working with other people, not in terms of like that's just like my weak strength. Like, I'm very like I feel like I have my own vision, and And when like I work with other people, it doesn't mean that like I can't, but it means that like sometimes my vision changes, and I don't want someone else to be like, oh, you keep changing what you see, or like you keep changing what you do, and like, and not only that, but like because I'm offering more of a service than like a object, like I'm offering like my editing, which is like time. I don't want someone to feel like my work is going to be the same as someone else's, because with editing it all comes to creativity.
Absolutely.
And like, and I think that like if someone else has a different vision for a video, I don't want to be the person to be like, don't do that, it's not what our brand image is, because that's your creativity and you should have every right over it. But at the same time, I have worked with a lot of people. Like, as I mentioned in the league, I had like other people working for me. That's just because I could not do that much coverage. And since I think like the past 2 years, there's been so many more accounts that have started doing like the same thing as Bangkok Buckets, which like a lot of people would take that as like, oh wow, they're like competition, but it's not like that at all. Like, at least for me, it's not. I think like all these people who have started the same thing, like just to mention like Nanon, he goes to ISV, like he does the same thing, and his work is so amazing. He's helped me so much. Like if I ever need help, like I can message him, be like, hey, can you edit 30 seconds of this video for me? I'm gonna put it in my video, like things like that. Like it's nice to have like a community that's doing it.
So
just to be able to
we're like passing that kind of thing on. So because now you're in New York, obviously.
Yeah.
So now that there's someone in Thailand that's sort of
exactly
doing.
Yeah, it's just nice to see that it's like growing. Like it's not, like I mentioned, it was never for me. It's for everyone here in Thailand, the basketball culture in Thailand. So like having someone else do it is just like, it sets a lot of hope for like the future of Bangkok basketball.
That's pretty cool. Did you ever doubt the process, or like doubt what you were doing and if it would even succeed? And if you did, then how did you overcome that doubt?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely doubted it a lot. The first few weeks when I was playing, I was like, there's no way I'm doing this right now. Like, there's no way I'm actually going to go through with the league. But then, like, you have those moments, but then you also have the moments that are like, wow, I definitely can do this. Like, it's not as difficult as it sounds. So I think there's that as well. And, like, overcoming it, I think just, like, patience and time, and then just, like, remembering your initial goal. Like,
okay, so you whenever you felt the difficulty, you would look back to your initial goal and be like, because of that, I have to get through this. Because of that, I have to get through this.
Kind of, yeah. Like, I just think that, like, if I really want to reach that point in my life, I have to be able to persevere. And like, even if I didn't think I was able to do it, then I would like refer back and be like, okay, you've come this far. This is just one more step.
Alright, then coming down to this, I think we're gonna move down a little bit to like New York lifestyle a bit. So you can take off with the New York questions, I guess.
Sure. So I know that you moved to New York to pursue your studies, and what exactly are you studying?
So I'm studying sports management at
Awesome, sports again, so like it all links together. That's perfect.
Yeah.
So then we've touched upon this a little bit, but just to go a little bit deeper into it, how did you exactly manage everything? Being like in NYU, because of the Bangkok Buckets, it's still going on. It's still on the boom right now. So how did you manage all that? Like being so being like 7 C's away.
Yeah, so Bangkok Buckets is definitely like repurposed since I moved. I think that like before I was really focused on talent in Bangkok, and I'm still focused on that. Like I still would really like to grow basketball in Bangkok, but because I'm not here, it's not possible for me to like go attend games and film. So like what I did was I spoke with the other people I've worked with, and I told them if someone ever inquires me to film in a Bangkok game, I'll send one of you guys to film. And obviously I don't have money to pay them. That's the downside of it. But I think they also want to grow and also want to grow their rates. And like, okay, every now and then you will get someone who says, okay, I'll pay you this much an hourly rate because I need you for this period of time. Which I told them, I was like, you can keep all of it. Like even if they contact me, like it's for you, like you did the work. But I think since I've moved, I've gotten really like amazing opportunities to film like local players in New York. And that's just like how I've repurposed.
So they're becoming New York Buckets, like Bangkok and New York Buckets.
Yeah, so I like right now I work with NYU Athletics, so I film and produce content for their media pages, which are like the men's basketball team, the women's basketball team. I also did some work with the volleyball team and other sports as well, which has been super awesome because like I get to do what I love to do and get paid doing it, and like it's a proper job. And just like the team at NYU Athletics, like Kai and Kyle, like they're amazing. They're great people. Like every time I want to like use some equipment, like the camera, the mics, or everything, like anything I need, they have me. Like they have my back, and like it's just been a really good experience. I've learned so much since I've been there.
There's one question I'd like to get back to, right before we want to further ask about your and all that, which is you mentioned sponsors quite a while ago, like Soho Beats and all that.
Yeah.
What was your process of like looking for sponsors, going to them, convincing them? How did that work?
Yeah. It was pretty difficult. Like I think, as I mentioned, like I'm super young, and no one's gonna hand 20,000 baht to a 15-year-old, 19-year-old, 18-year-old. Like that's just the fact of it, and I think you have to accept that. But like also, like I'm very grateful that I had connections with companies that were able to sponsor me. But in the process of it, I also did contact people I didn't know, and contacting these people, like I had to set a pitch, like tell them exactly what they're gonna get out of it. But also, sponsors don't want to sponsor a team if they don't think it's gonna work. Because, yeah, it's for charity, but at the end of the day, it's their money, it's their business.
And if the business goes down, then it's like looks bad on them, right?
Exactly, and not just that, but like you want your team to win with your logo on it. That puts so much into a company's hands. So, just like I think contacting a lot, and like I only had one sponsor this time, but I was gonna redo it. I didn't, but I was going to. And when I was going to redo it, I had like a lot more sponsors coming in saying, "Oh yeah, we'll sponsor this team." Like we went for this team.
So the people came to you.
Yeah,
and
I think that like at first I had 6 teams, but I think when I was about to do the second round, the reason I didn't do it is because I was looking for university. But when I was going to, I had 10 teams want to join, so it was like way more. I just didn't think I could handle it.
Do you have any plans like afterward? Like you think maybe you want to get back to Bangkok Buckets at some time in the future? Like maybe start the league again, or do you think it's just not on the league seeing as you're here?
No, I think I definitely can do it again. I think in the summer, maybe. I don't know. Hopefully, let's see. But I think it's also a lot of work, and like I was really happy with how the first round went, like the first season of it. I just didn't want to like have a second season and then think too highly of myself and like think I could do it so easily and then have it go downhill because like obviously it's difficult and like I want to say it was like luck that the first one went well because it wasn't. It was like obviously I put the work into it. But I think that to a large extent, like it went so well, I don't want people to see it differently and just like end on a good note.
Wait, okay, fine. One more question before we start diving into the New York aspect. You're small. You started off as a small business.
Yeah.
What advice do you have to other people who are like either considering starting small business, have started small business, just like ourselves, Thirsty Tales, or any other like small business? What advice do you have to them? Because you started off 15-year-old opening up an Instagram account, and now you've made this amazing thing. What advice do you have to other?
I think the best advice I can give is just like you can do anything if you put your heart into it. Like if you truly want to accomplish something, you can accomplish it. That's like by far the best advice I can give. But also just be patient, evaluate yourself from like an unbiased perspective. Like why aren't you growing if you're like stuck? Because for the longest time my page wasn't growing. It was just at like a standstill. Yeah, like I didn't understand. I was producing good content. I was the only one doing it, and like it wasn't benefiting off of it. But I think like evaluating yourself, like what do you want to see someone else do, and then why aren't you doing that yet? And like what do you have to do to get to that point? I think that's super important. And then just be patient. Like I think everything comes with time, and if you like really dedicate and put the work in, like it will work out.
Awesome. I mean, that's a really good one because there's this sort of counterintuitive, and it's even like really just it punches you in the face. But it's true that if there was something that you really wanted to do, you would have done it. And the only reason people sometimes keep making excuses is because that want is not there. Like that super extreme want is not there. And once it is there, you just do it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously there's going to be challenges, and it's not like, oh, if you want to be the president, you can just be the president. It's not like that. Like everything has work that you have to put into it, and if you put the work in, then you'll get the outcome.
Alright, I think it's the penultimate question. I think before we sort of wrap it off. I don't know. We're wrapping it off with something new. You know what I mean? But we have so much to tell her about. But we're like,
of course.
On and off. So okay, this question I think is a bit more personal. It's like, what is university like? What's NYU like? And so, what is life like over there?
Yeah, I think university life is definitely unique.
Like,
Alright.
that is such a neutral word. Like, you have no idea.
You're the one that gets
good, unique, bad, good. Okay, go on.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand how much freedom you have. Like, you hear it all the time. Like, oh, university life, you have so much freedom. But like, for me, living in Thailand, I had a lot of freedom already.
Yeah.
My parents are very very let me be independent and do what I want and make my decisions for myself, which I'm so grateful for. But going into university, it's really like, what do you want to do? When do you want to wake up? When do you want to have breakfast? When do you have lunch? When do you have dinner? What classes do you want to take? When do you want to take these classes? Like, you get to choose practically every decision you make is up to you. And like, I think that is like, it's scary, but it's also really awesome that like, you see, like, you're like, okay, if you want to accomplish something, you have the time to do it because you're in university. No one can tell you like, oh, no, you have to sleep at this time. You have to eat this for dinner. This is what's being made. It's truly up to you. So I think that's something that's like the biggest thing about university. And then also just like diving into about my experience at NYU. I love NYU. Like, I love being in the city. It's been awesome. I've had so many opportunities to meet such amazing people. I think because it's like really like the forefront of like entertainment, like sports. Everything is in New York. Like, you're gonna meet a bunch of different people. Like,
celebrities on top.
Yeah, like that's like a really big thing of it. And then also like I think a big challenge. I don't know if you guys asked about the challenge, but I'm gonna say one anyway. I think a big challenge is definitely just like adjusting. Like, you go from seeing your family every day to like seeing them living in Thailand like once or twice a year. I was gonna say like 1 month in like 6 months or something like that. And then also just like your friends, like it still hasn't hit me that like I will never be at lunch in high school with my friends like ever again. Like me and my friends talk about it all the time. We're like, oh yeah, see you on Monday. Like we're gonna go back to school. Like it seems so surreal that like you're actually growing older and like you're actually like becoming an adult now, like being responsible for things. Yeah, it's like you have to be responsible. Like you run out of soap, like no one's gonna go buy soap for you. You have to go get it yourself. Like, I think also living in Thailand, like, we have like maids and like
of course.
Like, yeah, it's such a privileged lifestyle.
It's not as luxurious.
Yeah, and like it's not a bad thing. Like you need to learn to do things for yourself, and I think that's like super important. But yeah, it's definitely a new experience.
Also, you mentioned like making decisions, that it's so like you have so much autonomy that you can choose when you want to study all that. How did you make those decisions? Like, were you still your ambitious self that I'm gonna like I don't bound myself too tight, get the most that I can get done, achieve the most, or were you like, you know what, I'm gonna take it chill, I'm gonna be a little bit lazy, relax, and like, what was your way of going?
Yeah, I definitely see both of them. I think like some people like they take university for like, oh, we're like gonna party all the time, like we're gonna use this time to like just like have fun. Exactly. Which honestly, like, it's up to you at the end of the day. And like what I mentioned, it's your priorities. I think like for me, I have a good balance of like being with my friends and like if I'm feeling tired one day, like I'll evaluate that. I'm not gonna push myself to do something if my body is telling me like not to do it, or like if I really think I have a lot of schoolwork, if I'm not gonna prioritize going out to party or something like that. But yeah, I think the decisions. I think it's just like ultimately for me, I'm there to receive an education, so that's always gonna come first, and then everything else will follow with it. But yeah, I think that's pretty much how I make my decisions.
Okay, I think you can wrap it up sort of with your final question, I think.
Sure. So our final question is a big one. It's a very open question. Answer it however you want to answer it. It is, what, as you said, you're growing up now, right? Becoming an adult. So what are your plans for the future?
That's a really good question. Ultimately, I want to still pursue something in the sports realm. I think sports is such a big part of my life, so like I can't just drop it. But I am looking towards not transferring like schools or anything, but maybe doing a different major, going into like physiotherapy. That I'm already like doing a minor in that, so like having that as an option is really like good for me as well. I've always loved doing that, and I think the sports science aspect of it is really cool. In the next few years, I do want to work at like an online media platform. If I'm not pursuing physiotherapy, like one of those silent balls, like types of platforms, like over time. Like I think those kind of companies I really like look up to, especially the ones that focus on like women's in sports, because like female basketball obviously is like really hated on for some reason.
Yeah. I don't know what to get into.
People just don't like
Like-
females playing sports, and like I think growing that is a really big goal of mine. So let's go.
Alright guys, I think we'd like to say thank you to Alekhya for her time.
Thank you.
And it's been a great episode, guys. I'd just like to say, we're Thirsty Tales. We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok. And well, yeah, thank you everybody for watching this episode. We'll be back with so much new content. This new year is going to be amazing. Thank you, everybody. Thirsty Tales out.